truth of the matter is, it sucks to be a Muslim in France. Muslims in France are poorer on average than the rest of the population. Their kids go to schools that are not as high quality as the rest of the population. They live in neighborhoods that are not as nice as the rest of the population. There is hardcore discrimination for jobs in France against Muslims, especially Muslim men.
Now, dedicated viewers to this program already have a good understanding of what Salafism is and why it is so critical to understand its theology in light of international terror. Those new to the hardline should pay attention to the next few minutes and learn. Salafism is growing in Europe. They consider themselves the most pure and original form of Islam, and thus hold some of the most radical views. Prove the point. An imam recently stated quite matter-of-factly that the women in Germany who were brutally attacked on New Year's Eve brought Salafist justice upon themselves because they dressed inappropriately and wore too much perfume. It was their fault. The book is Salafism in Lebanon, From Apoliticism to Transnational Jihadism, the source for uncovering what is behind this faith. Our author is the great friend, professor of Middle East Studies at Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton, Florida, Dr. Robert Rabil joins us again.
Thank you, Ed. It's
good to see you again, my friend. When I saw this, because we need to discuss this and we only have a short time.
Okay.
When I see the words Salafism now growing in Europe, what strikes me is watch the mainstream media, watch everybody else talk about what's wrong. They never mention Salafism and the growth of it. This is the core. Is this not where we have to start our attack on the terrorists?
Well, absolutely, because it's an ideology, and that ideology is spreading, and you have the people, they are spreading it. And it is empowering for those Muslims who are alienated, who feel they are discriminated against. And Salafism comes in, the Imam comes in, and they use the cover of liberalism, the cover of human rights, to go ahead and propagate their version of Islam. But their version of Islam is fundamentalist. Now, somehow they say, well, we are not violent, but that's beside the point. What's the point is they will tell you, listen, we are going to go to the authentic ways of Islam. We are going to walk in the footsteps of Prophet Muhammad and the first four rightly guided caliph.
We're going to put us back several centuries.
Exactly. We are giving you a sacred history. And here, what they do work in Europe and in other countries, it's not about assimilating the Muslims. It's about reviving the practice of Islam according to their own fundamentalist ideology. So here, what do? They affect your identity as a Muslim. Yeah, they affect their identity and your allegiance to the country.
Then why is it? And I know that there's no real answer here. You and I will sit here and we will talk ideology and we talk Salafism. We have done it before, we will do it again. If you watch the other major networks out there and all of these roundtable programs, they say, let's fight the theology, let's fight the... They never mention Salafism. Why? Do they not understand it?
Well, because it's an ideology that is somehow, it needs to be more propagated, more studied. It is understudied, it's under-researched, and this is why when I did my book, I did a lot of research for it. You don't have this deep knowledge about Salafism. Why? Because it has different schools. You have the Salafi Jihadi. So here now in the media, they focus on Salafi Jihadi, but they don't focus on those who engage in politics as Salafists. They don't focus on those whom I call quietist. Mainly they are apolitical, but their apoliticism is geared toward what? Toward going and creating what they call a Salaf, utopian society, based on the tenets and principles that were practiced by Prophet Muhammad and the first four rightly guided caliphs.
Is it right to say that if we, the government, whomever, if we do not understand, if we do not have a deep knowledge of Salafism, then we will never defeat them?
Yes, of course. It's logical, Ed. Absolutely, you are right. You need to know them. And you need always to make sure that it doesn't spread. Because Salafism, as I mentioned, they use the cover of liberalism. They use the cover of human rights. And they go to the alienated Muslims. And they empower them. They tell them, listen, we are the saved sect. We are the victorious sect. At the end of days, we are the victorious. And what else? And what's better than you than going ahead and recreating that golden age of Islam, that utopian Islamic idea? And we need you. And this is what happened. And this explains why.
They're using and subverting the American system every single day.
Well, if they can, of course they could. And they will.
Or the system of freedoms, if you will,
well,
wherever it might be.
Yes, because they use it to go ahead and propagate their own version of Islam. Now, it's happening more in Europe than in the United States, but we have also here to be very careful.
I want to bring this up. The key to
Please.
winning the presidential election is what American people are focused on. A new Pew Research Center poll. Terrorism is now tied with the economy as the nation's top priority. 1 minute left.
Yes.
How can we not, the American people, how can we not allow that terror to affect our economy? Because it is every single day.
Yes.
We're afraid to go out anymore. We're afraid
Yes.
to do the normal things that we do. This is what is part of what's dragging us down.
Yes, make sure the ideology of Salafism and the ideology of Salafi jihadism, the ideology of radical Islam does not spread and does not take root here in the United States. And this is why we have to deal with the Muslim community. We have to deal with, of course, with our intelligence apparatus. We have to deal and to be careful and to know and understand that ideology.
And if we don't understand it, then it will
It's
continue to
problematic, of
affect our
course,
economy. It
of
will
course.
continue to drive us down, and people will
Exactly.
continue to be scared.
Because if you don't understand it, they have ways to spread it and to propagate it, especially now they use social media. And this is why you see some people who are alienated, who are sick, who don't feel well, who feel aggrieved, who feel afflicted for a certain reason. They say, listen, you know, this ideology is empowering, and they go and they embrace you. They will tell you, listen, this is the ideology of the who? Of Prophet Muhammad. This is the ideology how we are going to walk in the footsteps of the first rightly guided caliphs.
We need to remind everybody seriously. We've mentioned this before. Understand what is at the core of the problem. The book again is Salafism in Lebanon, From Apoliticism to Transnational Jihadism. It will give you a lot more than the other networks give you, but not on this show.
Thank you, Ed.
Always
It's my
a pleasure, my
pleasure.
friend.
It's my
Thanks for
pleasure,
joining
man.
us. The
Thank you so
definition of a
much.
dumpster fire is next,
you.
courtesy
Thank
our
you.
viewers.